Hey all, this is Redditosker. This video will be spoiler free as the game just recently came out. There won't be anything on the screen that shows story relevant content, or any monsters that you probably haven't already seen in promotional materials. It's only going to be talking about the mechanics that are involved with the tips, and the footage will take place in nondescript spaces. Alright, let's get started. Number 1. How to tell time. In the game, the sun will rise and set in real time, and sometimes NPCs will be in different places depending on the time of day, and some quests and quest objectives are only available during certain time periods. To find out what time it is exactly, you need to only open your start screen and notice the fancy wheel in the menu. That's not simply decorative, that is how you tell the time. Days seem to be broken up into 4 segments: dawn, noon, dusk, and midnight. If you rest at an inn, you can advance time to either dusk or dawn, and if instead you simply find a place to sit down to advance time, it will push you forward 6 hours, allowing you to easily get to midnight and noon. Tip number 2. Your visor can be open. You may have spent a lot of time on the character creator that they released before the game came out, and you want to be able to see your character and your pawn's face without it being occluded by the helmet that you choose to wear. Unfortunately, this game doesn't have an option to just remove the helmet during cutscenes or just not show the helmet at all. If you don't want to see the helmet, you're simply going to have to not put it on. But what the game doesn't tell you is that some helmets have visors. Many headpieces have alterations that you can do to them that lets you see the face more. So people that worked hard on their character's face will at least be able to see more of it during cutscenes. Tip number 3 is that blacksmiths from different locations upgrade your weapons in different ways. You can bring materials to blacksmiths and they'll use those materials to upgrade your weapon to 3 tiers. The first upgrade only costs gold, and the second and third upgrade cost gold plus monster parts or minerals. However, different types of blacksmiths will upgrade your weapon in different ways. Vermont blacksmiths will upgrade all aspects of a weapon and armor. Batal blacksmiths will upgrade mostly the physical attack and defense of equipment, at the expense of the equipment's magic attack and defense. The Elven blacksmiths are the exact opposite. They will focus more on the magic and less on the physical. And Dwarven blacksmiths will focus on a weapon's knockback ability and knockback resistance for armor. So depending on your and your main pawn's class and build, you might have a type of smithing that you prefer. Each upgrade represents 1 slot that's filled, so you could upgrade your weapon 1 time by the elves and then twice by the dwarves. Now the first 2 upgrades are easy to find. Most of the blacksmiths in Vermund and in Batal will offer their respective type of blacksmithing. But for the elves and the dwarves, you'll have to find them to be able to use their services. But they're locked behind quests, and for the purposes of keeping these tips spoiler free, I won't be telling you how to find them. Tip number 4 is that you can deposit things in inns and access them later. As you go out throughout the world and explore, you'll find loot from monsters or from ore deposits or equipment that you find in chests. And your party won't be able to carry all of it indefinitely. Your weight capacity is extremely limited. But if you deposit those things at any inn, you can get access to those things at any other inn. And you should especially do this with pretty much all the upgrade materials that you find, because those don't have to be on your person for the blacksmith to use them in the upgrading process. The blacksmith can take it out of your deposited inventory. Tip number 5 is that you can revive NPCs that die and that you might want alive if they stall your progress for quests. Most of the NPCs that you see in town are named characters. Many of them don't have any dialogue or quest relationships, but some of them do. And if they die, you can revive them. You can use a wake stone on dead NPCs, which will revive them in the same way it would revive you. However, if an NPC dies and some time has passed, their body won't be there anymore, it will be taken to the morgue. There's 2 morgues, one in Batal and one in Vermund. These morgues will have all of the dead NPCs that you can still revive. In this way, you're able to get the NPCs that are essential for quest completion. Though I believe there's a time limit on how long they'll spend in the morgue. And after that time limit, they'll be gone permanently. Tip number 6 is that there's a couple of ways to make quests easier on yourself. Quests in Dragon's Dogma can be difficult. They're often very subtle, and they seem like they're trying to get you to not understand what they want. Many of them have various ways to fail them, or to complete them in a suboptimal way. And there'll be many times where you don't know what they want from you exactly, or what to do next. If you face this situation, and you're just completely stuck, you can try and go to an oracle. There's one in the main city of Vernworth, and it will often tell you what you need to do next to complete the quest. However, this doesn't always work. Sometimes you'll go up to them and ask them, and they'll give you this vague answer that essentially tells you to be careful. And that usually means that you're at a point where the quest can be done suboptimally, and the oracle isn't going to tell you how to do it. Another solution is to look for pawns with quest knowledge. You can go to the Rift, select the quest that you want to be doing right now, and then the Rift will look for pawns that have quest knowledge regarding this quest that you're currently tracking. Pawns that have quest knowledge can try and lead you to the next location, or you can go up to them and talk to them, and they'll just directly talk about what you need to do. That sometimes just gives you the answer outright, or it'll give you an idea of what the right answer is. Tip number 7 is that there is a counterfeiter, which will let you make forgeries of items you have in your inventory. I'm not going to tell you where the counterfeiter is, because that might be considered a spoiler, but the counterfeiter is super useful, because you can counterfeit anything in your inventory, including quest items, which means that you can take a quest item, create a forgery, and then submit the forgery to the quest giver as if it was the real thing, which lets you keep that item if that's an item that you wanted for yourself. And very often that is an item that you want for yourself, either because it's very useful, or because you need that item to complete a different quest that also wants that same item. Or because you want to complete the quest but you think giving the item to the quest giver is a bad idea. There will sometimes be consequences for giving a counterfeited item to a quest giver. After all, the counterfeit is a forgery, it doesn't have the properties of the real thing. So what you think might happen as a result of you giving them, given that you know what their intentions for the item is, that's probably what will happen. But sometimes using the forgeries is necessary to get the right result for quests. And so when you should and when you shouldn't is going to have to be up to your intuition. The last tip is that you can use the counterfeiter to create forgeries of materials that you would use normally for upgrading weapons. And items counterfeited in this way won't be counterfeits, they'll just be the normal items. The price of the forgery will depend on the rarity of the material, but if it's for a monster that's particularly rare or difficult to find, it might be best to give up the gold to make duplicates of the item, since you won't know when the next time you will encounter that monster will be. Or it could even be a more common material but that you don't want to bother going to track down and find, since you really only need it to upgrade your weapon to the next tier. Anyway, that's the end of this video. As always, thank you very much for watching.